This is the Sony ZV-E1, a compact full-frame camera from Sony which has video specs similar to the FX3 and the A7S III. But this camera is getting mixed reviews from the internet. There are people, like me, who love this camera so much. And there are people who just doesn't understand why this camera even exists. And in this video, I will share 5 reasons why I switched to the Sony ZV-E1 and why I will sell my Sony A7S III. But before we continue, if you're new to the channel, hi, my name is Nico. I create videos about camera gear, audio equipment, and desk setups. I'm not a professional photographer or videographer. I used to professionally edit at a podcast company, but all the opinions here on this channel is from a perspective of an everyday tech dad. And if you're interested in that, please consider subscribing to the channel. Now, I just like to set some context before I state the reasons. Number 1, I am not a professional videographer. I don't shoot weddings. I don't leave my camera for recordings of long periods of clips for, let's say, like events, just to set expectations on how I use my cameras. I'm a content creator. I create videos on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Now, the follow-up question to that is, why do I even have an A7S III in the first place? Well, that's 2 things. Number 1 is gas and the hype in the camera YouTube space. When the A7S III was released, everyone that I follow in the camera niche basically got an A7S III. So at that time, I was debating if I should get an A7C, which I had the budget for, or an A7S III, which I was really intrigued with the video specs and the hype. And then during this time, this was like the height of the lockdowns, the pandemic, wherein people are experimenting with new things, new skills. I was also contemplating in getting into professional video work. I tried being apprentices in some friends who are in the industry, so I said it might be a well worth investment to buy the A7S III, just to legitimize my excuse of wanting the S3. And then there was a project that came for work, not camera related, that paid well for 3 months, and that money that I got from that actually was enough to go from a budget of the A7C to the A7S III. So I jumped on that opportunity and got the S3. And those plans of doing professional work didn't push through. So with that being all laid out, let's go to my 5 reasons. Reason number 1 is the size. One of the main reasons why I switched to the ZV-E1 is because I bring my camera to all our family trips to document our travels. And although I've survived bringing my A7S III to all our travels these past 2 years, the experience of having a significantly smaller and lighter setup has been a great experience. Again, before I bought the A7S III, I was thinking of an A7C, but I was also thinking that it would be so great to have the specs of the A7S III in the body of the A7C. Well, I got my wish in 2023. Second reason why I switched to the ZV-E1 is because of the new clear image zoom. Now, the clear image zoom is not a new feature on Sony cameras, but the ZV-E1 is the first Sony camera that will not lose the tracking or the focus tracking capabilities when using clear image zoom. Now, this is huge for me because this allows me to extend the range of my lenses but still retain the great autofocus of Sony cameras, which you cannot do in the old cameras that have clear image zoom. Now, the third reason why I switched to the ZV-E1 is because of the new menu options. One of the reasons I was afraid of when switching to the ZV-E1 was the transition of having so many buttons and dials on the A7S III and losing most of those here in the ZV-E1. But with the new touchscreen capabilities of the ZV-E1, you could easily change a lot of settings here in this camera just from the touchscreen or the flip out screen. Yes, it's a different experience from dials and buttons, but you actually have faster access to a lot of these menu options. Also included in this reason, in this category, is the new look of the main menu of the ZV-E1, which is more similar to the FX3 and the FX30. It's cleaner, it's easier to navigate, plus I get to use a LUT when shooting with the ZV-E1 without having to use an external monitor. This has been a feature that A7S III users like me have been asking for from Sony for a really long time now, but until now we haven't gotten that firmware update. Fourth reason is the dynamic active stabilization. The ZV-E1 has a new stabilization mode which is not found in the A7S III, and this is called the dynamic active SteadyShot. Now, I actually have a gimbal, and if I really needed stable shots, then that is my best option. But going on trips with my wife and 2 kids, I'd rather leave that gimbal at home. And with the option of having gimbal-like footage without actually having to bring a gimbal, then the ZV-E1 is a better option for me for traveling over the A7S III. Reason number 5 is product showcase mode. Being a content creator that focuses on gear reviews, I will be utilizing this feature a lot. Whenever I feature a product here on the channel and I bring it closer to the camera, on the A7S III, I need to cover my eyes to stop the A7S III from tracking my eyes to focus on the camera like this. With the new product showcase mode turned on the ZV-E1, it just detects that you are featuring an object that is closer to the camera or the lens, and it just locks onto that object right away. And those are the 5 reasons why I switched from the A7S III to the ZV-E1 with regards of how I use cameras. Now, I have 2 more bonuses information to share to you, which might be reasons for you, but these are not main reasons for me why I switched, but it might be important for someone out there. First is the improved onboard microphones on the ZV-E1. Now, I still prefer to use external microphones when creating videos, but having an improved mic along with its intelligent auto feature where it recognizes if it should focus on the front, the back, or all around is something content creators would love, as we don't have to think about if we are getting picked up by the microphones whenever we switch from being in the shot or being behind the camera, or if we are interviewing someone. So that is a pretty good bonus for me. The second bonus, but definitely not one of my reasons, is the price. I already have the A7S III, so no, price was not a factor in my decision, especially since I won't be able to sell my A7S III at, brand new prices. But if you're deciding to buy either the ZV-E1 or the A7S III, then do note that the ZV-E1 is almost $2,200, while the A7S III is almost $3,500. So those are the reasons why I switched from the A7S III to the ZV-E1. And if you have a similar use case like mine, then do consider this amazing camera as your next one. And I will be doing more tests about this camera, so please do consider subscribing and watch my other videos here.